conversation, we spoke about NumPy and pandas, right? And we gave some examples, but at the same time, I think we wanted to pick up something which is kind of real and which is where you can use the practical data, which is much more relevant as compared to the examples that we had. So we thought we'll open the conversation today by scanning through some of the data sets, right? Some of the commands that we discussed, right? We'll walk you through how those can be implemented, right? In actually in the real world, and the second half we'll talk about the visualization. I mean, that's the second topic that we want to cover, right? Within this session, right? So, and I have Trisha with me, so she will walk us through some of the examples which are relevant on NumPy and pandas. Okay, so this is the brief about the session. All right. Okay. Over to you, Trisha.
Good evening, everyone. Today we'll go through basic data analysis. I'll be using the Titanic dataset. Let me just share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Jupyter notebook that we'll be using. So we are using the Titanic dataset. This is the real passenger data from 1912. This is the data about the passengers who were on board on the Titanic and data related to them. Now let me just run the first cell. Okay, so this I'm importing NumPy. NumPy, as you already know, numerical Python is used for complex mathematical problems, pandas for data manipulation, and here I'm using Seaborn only to load the data set. So we are loading the data set into the variable df using the Seaborn, which we have imported as SNS. We are loading the Titanic data set.
Sorry, what
Now,
is Seaborn?
today we'll be using in the upcoming session we'll know exactly what Seaborn is. Right now it is the understanding that it is only used to import the data set is enough.
Yeah, yeah. So just to add to that, Kamlesh, say some of these libraries that we use, they also come with some data sets, right? Say for example, predominantly one of the libraries which is used in Python is for machine learning is sklearn, SCI learned, right? Now it has got many data sets which have been published, and the users actually can access them and experiment with it, right? Similarly, Seaborn is another library which has got some data set which can be leveraged. Specifically, Seaborn is used for visualization, but it has got a data set which actually we are leveraging to show you how pandas and NumPy can be used. Kamlesh.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, all right. Sorry, back to you, Trisha.
So we have loaded our data set into the variable df. Now we are printing the dataset shape. Now dataset shape is basically how many rows and how many columns does our dataset have. So our dataset has 891 rows and 15 columns. Now it is impractical to show everything over here. So we are only showing the first 5 rows to give us a basic understanding or idea about how the dataset looks like. So this is our dataset. These are the rows. We have 15 columns which contain of different information about a particular passenger, which may include whether or not they survived. 0 means they did not survive. 1 means they survived. 0 is false, 1 is true, which is also the standard Python Boolean values as well. Then we have what is the gender, what was the fare that they gave, what class did they travel in. We also have whether or not they were alone or whether or not, like if a passenger was traveling alone or with the family or with a group. So these are the details that we have. Now, moving forward, we are going to see how we can leverage NumPy to perform some calculations or to understand or manipulate the data. So here we are taking the age column and converting it into an array. So basically, we can do this with any column. We are taking age. So we want to calculate what is the mean age, what is the maximum age, what is the average age standard deviation, which is how apart the ages were, and what were the number of people whose age was above 65. So let me just run this. So as you can see here, it is showing NaN. This is that the data was not available. This can also be seen over here in the data set itself. This means that the data is not available. Now, when we are using NumPy and we use simple mean or max or standard, what happens is if there is no value available in the data set, it shows NaN, which is basically that there was no value available, and it since it is the minimum value, it is taking that value as well. So to avoid that, we are using this NaN mean. It means that ignore all the values that are not available and then calculate the mean. So we can see that the mean was 30. So the average age was 30, maximum was 80, and the deviation was around 15, 14.5, and there were 8 people who were above the age of 65. Any questions in this particular cell? Okay, let us move forward. Now, with pandas, we can explore what our data set is doing. Let me run this cell. So DF info, that is showing us information about our data set. What were the null well values? What were the D types? What were the columns? And then we have the describe, which gives us a statistical summary. Like what was the count of the people that survived? What was the mean? What was the standard deviation? We can just use this rather than going using the NumPy libraries again and again. This gives us a pretty clear summary. So when we are working with very huge data sets, we cannot keep analyzing column by column. Wait, something went wrong. Let me share my screen again. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Okay, so this gives us a basic statistical summary. This tells us about our data. So any questions in this cell as well? Okay, let us move forward. So now data selection and filtering. Now basically NumPy.
Excuse me. I have one question. What's
Mhm.
the mean, like mean of the whole data in the above described section?
In this section,
Yeah, yeah. So mean or standard deviation. We like generally we mean of age. We can take mean for ages or for a single column. So here the mean is for whole data or about a single column.
it is also done column wise only. As you can see, what were the survived people, what was the class.
Okay.
It is also
Okay.
done
Okay.
in pages of age and fair.
Mm-hmm.
So it is done in a
Mm-hmm.
similar manner, but it is combined. For the whole data set, it has done for the columns that it was possible to do all in one.
Okay. 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 Okay.
So we
Sure.
don't have to do
Thank
it
you.
individually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you stay there for a
Yes.
second? I found something which is very interesting, right? So, see, in the previous conversation, we spoke about that when it is about standard deviation, right? It is something that you should actually be alerted, right? Now, if you look at it, why I'm pointing it out, see the standard deviation for the different columns that we have. For survived, it is 0.48, right? Whereas if you go towards the fair, it is 49.69 something, right? Now, uh, when we spoke about standard deviation, right? Again, it's a mathematical thing, a statistical thing, right? Standard deviation talks about the dispersion, right? We spoke about it. Are you able to recall that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So dispersion is all about how much each number is actually distant from the mean, right? The larger the distance, that means the data is pretty much dispersed, right? That means the quality can be compromised. You need data which is actually condensed. That actually helps you to do better predictions, right? And we will get to know more about this when we'll do some hit and trial during the machine learning phase. But I just wanted to make sure that you understand that standard deviation is very important. But here, if you look at it, Why survived is 0.48, the minimum one. Can you give a guess? So what is survived? If you can if you can recall. So Trisha spoke about whether the person survived or not, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, correct. So
Yeah.
0 and 1, there are only the two numbers, right? Those are
Hmm.
actually Boolean,
Hmm.
right? So when you have got only 0 and 1, the mean is going to be 0.5, right? 1
Hmm.
from 1.5 is 0.5 only, and from 0 to zero point 0.5 again is a 0.5. So it's a minimum possible dispersion, most
Hmm.
likely, right? So that's
Yes.
why among all the data sets, we see that standard deviation for survived is minimum. But in any case, it has got no meaning because it's a Boolean one, right? Maybe we have to think about age. Probably that age is kind of okay. So there is a deviation of 14 here and there, right? When we are going to predict some outputs, this standard deviation is going to become a very important factor. Yeah. All right. Back to you, Trisha.
Yep. So we can move on to the next cell. This is data selection and filtering. Now, whenever we think about data in terms of rows and columns, like either the Excel format comes into our mind, like either we are doing data manipulation in Excel or we are doing it using SQL, like a proper SQL, not NoSQL. So in there, the very important feature is how do we select our data, how do we group our data, how do we filter our data. So this is very important in terms of data analysis as well. So we'll look at that now. So first we are going to figure out how many people were there, how many females were there who were young and who survived as well. So the young people, so we are just selecting it. So first condition is that the gender should be female. The age should be less than 30. Now this is a definition of young that I am taking, that okay, a person less than 30 is considered young. We can change the definition. This is a very simple one. And then whether or not they survived. Now we will be printing the first three rows of the people who survived and what were the number of people. Okay, so this is not printing because let me put it in the print. With NumPy, sometimes it happens that we have to explicitly put commands into print and only then it prints. It usually does not happen, but sometimes it does. So there are 105 people, females, who were younger than 30 and survived, which also means that the others did not. So we can also change it and then see. So there are 42 people, 42 women who did not survive. Similarly, we can filter our data in any format that we want. We can look at this again because this is an important concept. We will look at this at the end of our lecture as well. Like 2 to 3 examples I'll take again. Apart from that, if there is any questions in about how to filter the data. Okay. So grouping and aggregation. Grouping is also very important in SQL. Like we can group by different things. Here we let us group by we are grouping by class. So we are finding out that what was the first we are grouping the people by class. There were three class, first, second, third. So people were in which class they were traveling in, and what was the mean and count of whether or not they survived. So if they were in first class, uh, 216 passengers were traveling, which is the count, and the survival rate was 63%. In the second class, 184 people and 47%. Ironically, the most number of people were traveling in the third class and it has the least number of survival rate. Now, this is very important in terms of data analysis also, that if someone is giving you a data set and we have to analyze that did the class have any effect on how many number of people survived, then yes, it did. The people in the first class had the most survival rates. Like even if we even consider first and second, like the third can have a less number of survival rate because the people were also more, so that can be excluded. And if we consider only the first and second class, it is very clear that even though first class had more number of people, it still has a higher survival rate. So we can conclude by our analysis that whether or not you belong to a higher class or you were traveling to a higher in a higher class, it had a direct correlation with whether or not you survived.
Yeah. So there is an interesting thing here. Incidentally, I was given some free coupons to I was in Sweden, right? And I went there for a official trip, and I got relocated rather. And I was supposed to travel to Finland. I mean, because of these coupons that were given to me, right? And they were actually not third class, but there were only two classes. I mean, the one who were actually given the space on the deck, right? And then rest of the people. So my cabin was at the bottom, right? And above us was actually the place where the cargo will go, right? So it was full of cards and all. Just now, so imagine in case if something, some mishap happens, right? The third class, probably in that time, right? They were subjected to such kind of challenges, right? So that's why when you would have seen the movie, right? People who were in the third class, they found it very difficult to move to the upper spaces, right? Who were there already, they survived, kind of. Yeah, yeah. Back to you, Trisha.
So, do we have any questions regarding this? So, like in any data set that in a real life data set, will definitely have missing values. There is no real data set that will not have missing values. That is, after we have filled the missing values, only then we have a data set that is worth working upon, because missing data sets is not an ideal case scenario. And whenever we are doing some sort of calculations or applying algorithms in machine learning, we would want all of our columns to be filled. So what we do is we just fill it with a sort of a median value. So here there are multiple missing values in R, as we saw even in the case of H, that there were missing values. So what we are doing is the whatever the values that are missing, whatever is null, we are filling them with the median value. So this is doing nothing but just filling the median value. This has no output, but like I can also, I think I can give it out. Yep. So the age, which was okay, the first 5 pages were filled already. I think we get the idea that we are filling the values with the median values. The first 5 age values, unfortunately, did contain the values. We can change it, but okay. This is another concept that we'll be learning today. Like, wait. So, Matplotlib is something that we use to visualize our data. So, this is something we'll be learning today, but I just thought it would be cool to have something over here that we can see. So, this shows us the age distribution. So age distribution, now we can see that like in general, just looking at the graph, we are sure that okay, the most number of people were above 18 and below 40. So the people the majority of the people traveling on the Titanic were of above 18 and below 14, so a very young population. So this is just a use of Matplotlib. And we can calculate many other things like how many women were traveling in the first class, how many poor people were there, or how much uh, and did they survive or did they not I'm sorry, I was getting a call. So did they survive or did they not survive? Anything, like we have the data set, we can just use the filtering that we used. Also we can make many other analysis as well, or whether we can do another analysis of whether or not a person traveling alone had more chances of survival, or a person not traveling alone had a person traveling with a group had more chances of survival. It is found that the person who was traveling in groups had more chances of survival. We can do many other data sets as well. This is a very detailed data set, and this is very good for beginners because it does not contain that many missing values. It is fairly simple to follow. So there can be very other things that we can find out. So right now I think we can leave it at over here. So if you guys have any other questions, then you are free to ask me.
Just one quick one. So
Yeah.
this sample data that you've given, how did
Sorry.
you, the sample data set, right? Titanic
Yeah.
data set.
Mhm.
Uh, how did you give, I mean, how did you input that data set here?
So this is basically, I use Seaborn only. We can use different tools, like Kaggle is very famous for having data sets. Kaggle data sets are not very real world. There are some sample data sets that can be used that can be used via Kaggle, like downloaded via Kaggle. But like after, for beginners it is the best. But after a
Yeah,
certain point of time, you will want to move beyond Kaggle.
No, no, what I'm asking
yeah, yeah,
is,
yeah, Kamlesh. So if you look at this line, df is equal to sns dot load dataset
yeah,
Titanic,
yeah.
right? This is the command that is pushing the data into the data frames.
So if I have to practice, say, a big Excel, and I have stored that in my local path, local folder, how do I input that data set to try and see these comments?
There's a different format for using URLs. You
No,
can
say for
also
example, I not the URL. If I have a physical folder in my, say, C
use.
drive or a D drive, it's a big
Mhm.
Excel, like what you've seen, 890 rows or 15. Or I have, let's say that I have a, a finance sheet which has multiple columns and rows, and it's there in one of my physical folders. So how do I input that data and then play around that data to do everything that you've now shown?
Yeah.
I think we can also use the
May I
path,
give an input on that?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure.
the
Tisha,
relative path,
please spot on.
uh,
Yeah.
that was my answer. Like Dave, you can continue.
Like Tisha is spot on that, that we can use the folder path and we can load the any kind of data we have in the
Can
device,
you
local device.
can you show that please to show
I
or
do
just
not
show me
have.
the command maybe? That's okay. We can try. So,
Yeah. So this is I have already just
We'll
now
use load
shared a
function along
command.
with the path in double quoted, like
Yeah.
double inverted commas. We make an object with the name of data set and equals to load function to load that particular data set through that path.
Yeah.
Like data set equals to load a double inverted comma the path for the data.
are you typing somewhere?
Uh, Dave, can you push the message? I have sent a message on WhatsApp as well, Kamlesh.
Okay.
So, but there are multiple commands, right, to do the same thing. In the previous conversation, we actually demonstrated that how a particular file, which is there in the same folder as my code is, right, how I can use it to read it. So that command I have shared with you.
Okay.
Df is equal to pd dot read CSV, right?
Okay.
So it's
I'll
a
take a
CSV
look.
file,
Yeah.
right? So now what you can do, you can actually replace peopleupdate.csv with the path that you have, right?
Mhm.
First, I would suggest that go ahead and
Basics.
put your Excel file in the same folder as your code is, right?
Okay.
And then you can play around moving into different folders, because sometimes given if you're giving the qualified path, I mean, if you're storing in a different folder, you have to specify the full path, right?
Okay. Understood.
And that's where sometimes you feel face challenges because backlash slash and so on, right?
And will
Right.
it work? I mean, this Excel, this example that you showed appear to be very structured, right? Will it work
Which
if
one?
it's, I mean, what the Titanic data set
Yeah.
was very structured, right? I mean, say, I mean, I know it's possible technically, but how will it work if if it has multiple tabs, unstructured, meaning it has, one has a table and one is a free text or something.
Basically, what we are doing right now with NumPy and Pandas, it's very beginner friendly. Like we are doing this because we are starting out. We need to understand the basics. As we move forward, we will not be
Uh,
using this libraries
yeah,
much.
yeah.
So as we move forward, we will go towards the complex data sets and how we can use them. But right now, this
We'll go with one step
yeah,
at a time.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Understood. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other question, Kamlesh, you have?
No,
By the way, you are comfortable with this, right? Because we wanted to make sure that we are covering
yeah,
this particular part.
correct. 100%. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great, great. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement. Now let's move on to the next part. But before we do that, let me share my screen.
So visualization, were we referring to this visualization when you said that
Yeah,
we
the
spoke about the
visualization that
agenda?
you can create using Python libraries.
So that's Matplot is what I saw.
Matplot, Seaborn, and Plotly. So there are three different libraries, and I'm going to talk about that. It's taking a while to load. Yeah, I think probably the first slide was pretty heavy. Yeah. So now we are shifting towards how you can create visualization, right? And we are going to talk about three different libraries: Seaborn, Matplotlib, and Plotly. Now, before we go, I think we all understand that the importance of visualization, right? It is very difficult to remember the numbers and analyze. A lot many times you have to do it, of course, but at the same time, if you have things available in terms of charts, libraries, right? It is far more easy. And imagine that if you are given sales of an organization for the last 10 years, right? In an Excel, right? And if you are asked this question that tell us whether we are going up or going down, right? It will take a while, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or something of that sort, right? To make some meaning. But if you put that data directly into a chart, right, and it has got a line which is probably going up, you can immediately say, okay, we are actually on a happy path, perhaps, right? Our sales is constantly going up, right? So it is easy to comprehend. It is easy to retain, right? Uh, and it is easy for the decision making as well, right? And communication becomes easy. Now this is important in case if you are in the data field, right? Data storytelling is extremely important, right? And understanding what kind of graph, what kind of chart that you going to use, right? What kind of mechanism that you are going to communicate your data is going to be super important, right? So say, for example, if you are dealing with the top shots, maybe the CTO or the CEO of the organization, right? And you are presenting the sales of an organization, right? And if you don't have KPIs, so I'm not sure whether you understand the meaning of KPI. Mayank, do you understand that? What is key performance indicator?
Mm, no, actually, like I
Okay,
can't remember it right now.
okay.
Mm.
Kamlesh, I'm sure that you would know,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So, see, when you are dealing with KPIs, it is like if you are supposed to measure a number, right, that indicates your performance. First, you have to set what is going to be the benchmark, right? So, in case if you are a student and you are appearing for an exam, right? Maybe you can say that 40%, which is the minimum to get, right, to get qualified, to get passed, right? At least 40 marks is required, and maybe 60 is probably the first division, right? Nowhere we call it, we talk about first division though. Then maybe 75% and so on, right? So you are setting up an indicator that what is your minimum benchmark, and that's the KPI, right? Key performance indicator, that immediately you can see that, okay, we are doing good, bad, ugly. Maybe you are at 80%, right? But it is possible that still your performance is not good enough. Why? Because in the beginning itself, when targets were being set, you set the target for 90%. Maybe you were scoring already in the range of 85, 87%, right? So even after scoring 80%, the performance is not good enough. Right. So KPIs in the organizations, particularly when you are going to work for in corporate, KPIs are super important. Right. Okay, so when you have all these things together, you have charts, you have got dashboards, KPIs, right? The storytelling becomes very important. So for all the people who are in the data, right, they need to understand, they need to fall in love with the data. Unless until you do that, you will not be able to understand what is the relationship that is existing, and communicating it to the leadership is always will be a challenge, right? So when you're getting into the data science, try to spend more and more time with data. Look at the different dimensions, spend time so that you can understand and appreciate the relationships, right? And when I'm saying this, when you go back and study the data of your own organization, right, that's where you will be able to understand what you are trying to achieve, how you are trying to achieve, right, and what in addition to whatever you are doing, you can do. Okay, so if you look at this particular example out here, yeah. So you see that this is an interesting thing which I always show in my sessions, right? This is how the different countries have invested in AI, right? This is a data which was published in 2024. Now, if you look at it, 93% of the data actually has been invested by US. These are top 10 countries. Do you see India? Nowhere, right? And now you see the results as well. Not, I mean, there are rare examples where we actually have done any innovation in AI, right? Now, what did I do? uh, I actually picked up a story and just shared some pointers to you. And I am sure that when you go back, right, this data is available in front of you or not, but you will carry this thought process that India was not among the top 10. US was the top one, and it is actually 93%. And that's why the most of the AI companies, right, who are creating a differentiator, they exist in US, right? Okay. So this is the power of visualization. Okay, let's move on. Uh, So here, what we are going to do, we will talk about the data visualization in a bit. A part of it already has been done. We'll talk about Matplotlib, right, which is the fundamental library when it comes to visualization. There are two more libraries we'll talk about, Seaborn and Plotly, right? And we'll try to understand which one to be used in what all circumstances, right? And maybe we will also talk about some of the practical use cases, because there are three different libraries. So you should know that, okay, which library you are going to use and when. I hope we are good. Okay. All right. So uh, I I just need a confirmation. Are you able to see overview of popular visualization libraries? Is that the title of the slide that you see?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. I use two different systems to conduct the session, and the slides are not matching. So I just wanted to make sure that, okay, it is being read appropriately. Okay, so I spoke about Matplotlib, Seaborn, and Plotly. Uh, Matplotlib is kind of a fundamental library. Consider that maybe when you are using Matplotlib, it's like you have been given a brush, right, and a blank canvas, and with that brush you can do anything. So there is a lot of power in your hand. When you're working on Matplotlib, you can go and manipulate the tiniest possible pixel as well, right? So there is a lot of power, but at the same time, there is a lot of code that you have to do. Right? So I mean, it is like going back in time when you will be putting a lot of lines of code to manipulate things, but at the same time, it's very powerful. right? Because it will let you manipulate the entire canvas. While Seaborn is you can consider that it's like a smart brush, and it already knows certain templates, right? So when you are going to use Seaborn, you can use those templates, so you don't have to code that much, right? So and Seaborn is written on top of Matplotlib. So in a way, some of the functions which are existing in Matplotlib, it kinds of encapsulate that, right? It is easy to use, but at the same time the kind of customization that you can experience in Matplotlib, you will not have the same advantage while working in Seaborn. And when you're working with Plotly, this is the place where if you want to create interactive charts, so say there is a line chart, right? And you want to use your fingers to zoom it, right? The way you do it in Power BI and others, right? Similarly, using Plotly, actually you can use it. In fact, the kind of I mean the interactive charts that Plotly help you create, I have not seen the similar kind of interaction that you can do with Power BI. I have not seen so much about Tableau. I'm not sure with which tool you use in your own organization, but Power BI definitely is not there when it comes to if you do a comparison between Power BI and Plotly. Sometimes you really need to, when you're doing a data storytelling, you really need to zoom in, zoom out so that people can understand and relate with what you're communicating. Now, see, all these libraries um, kind of pushes you to use code, right? You have to write different lines of code in order to build different charts. Now, the question can come in your thoughts, right? We have so many powerful tools available like Power BI, Tableau, right? Even the Excel can be used. So when there are low code, no code tools available, and let me just pause here. Do you understand the meaning of low code, no code tools? Okay. So say a Power BI is a typical low code, no code tool where you can do this drag and drop. Now, if you are given a situation wherein you know that, okay, you can develop code in Python and you can create visuals and you have got Power BI. So how do you take a decision? How will you decide that, okay, I am going to use Python. I am not going to use Power BI. Or maybe I'm not going to use Excel. Any thought around it?
Maybe about the customization we want. For example, we have the access over all the data and we can show however we want in Python, or like how can we view, but there may be limitation in Power BI.
Yes. Yes. So that is true. I'm not sure. And Kamlesh, in your organization, do you use Power BI?
We do. We use both Tableau, Power BI, and we just started using QuickSight.
Okay.
From
Okay.
database.
Okay. So uh, based on my own experience, say it is difficult to create your custom charts. So whatever is available in Power BI, there are TypeScript. I mean, there are workarounds, but those workarounds are difficult. Right? So typically, whatever is available in Excel, right? You will say it's a bar chart, it's a pie chart, and you will use them, right? Uh, Customization is not possible. So in case if you want to create some charts, which is say a pulse chart, which is demonstrating how the data is flowing, right? Uh, there is another library which is called D3, right? Which is typically used by data scientists to do the storytelling, right? Maybe we are not covering that, but D3 is again an open source. You can try it out. You can see how flexible that is, right? So first of all, when it comes to customization, uh, 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 Python actually gives you much more power. Any language will give you more power as compared to the tools which are already written. That's one. Second, uh, If you are dealing with data, say, which is in terms of say thousands, right? These tools are good. But when you are dealing with data which is going in the range of millions and billions, right? Some of these tools actually struggle. And that is where the power of Python comes into the picture, because it's a custom tool. Right? The more you have RAM, the more you have GPU in your system, the more efficient it is going to be. So the in case if you want, if you are dealing with such kind of challenges, Python is the way to go. On the other hand, if your turnaround time is very important, right, where you are supposed to pick up the data and take it to your stakeholders in a quick turnaround time, that is
Mhm.
where tools like Power BI becomes, I mean, they play a very important role, because within no time you can create a report, right? And a report which is kind of acceptable to them. Python actually really struggles on that, but you need a lot of time, right? So I hope I'm making myself clear. So while most likely you and your team will be still leveraging one of these tools, Power BI, and Tableau, right? You may not be leveraging Python, but there can be certain circumstances where you want to overcome some of the limitations that some of these tools have. Okay, so let's move on. Uh, Okay, so that's one of the basic component of uh, Python, and when you're dealing with the Matplotlib, right? It is plots. Plots are nothing but different charts. I mean, there is a very complicated definition that has been given, but it is as simple as a graph, right? It can be it can be a line graph. It can be a bar chart, right? It can be a pie chart. All those are actually plots in Matplotlib. Right. Uh, Another thing that it is important that you decide when to use what, right? When you are using something that changes over time, right? The typical use is line plot. So when if you follow crickinfo.com, right, during the cricket matches, they typically show the run rate. Right? So it will show that, okay, oh, in 20 overs, 50 overs, what was the run rate, right? So typically they use line plot because they're showing something which is changing over time, right? If you are supposed to do some kind of comparison between the different categories, bar chart is used. If there is any kind of relationship that you want to show, scatter plot is used. And if the data is spread out, then histogram or box plot can be used. We picked up this example that box plot is also used in data science to make sure that we eliminate the outliers, right? In the previous conversation we spoke about, right? So at some point in time during this conversation, when we go into machine learning, we'll talk about box plot, right? If you're talking about the different shares, what is the percentage, right? That's where the pie chart is used. And in case if you are again, this is important for data scientists, heat map, right? It actually shows the how the variables are correlated to each other. Lot many times when you are doing data analysis, when you are presenting your model to the stakeholders, you probably will create a heat map and take it to them, right? Okay. Okay. A bit background. Matplotlib was created by John D. Hunter. It was created in 2003. So you can understand that it was created 23 years back, right? So there are modern libraries which are available, and Seaborn is one of them. Right? Uh, Again, it has got it's very extensive. It is known for the kind of documentation it has, and it is quite versatile. Typically, uh, while we can pick up this again in the use cases, when you are putting something into publication, you're writing a white paper, right? You want beautiful charts, right, which can actually be zoomed in, zoomed out, right, without the quality of the graphs getting impacted. This is the place where you will use Matplotlib, typically for publications. It uses object oriented API. So that means that you can take all the advantages of the OOPS, right? So that means that you can define once and you can use it everywhere, right? Uh, you can do a lot of customization. Support for various plots are available. Publication quality figures, we have discussed this. Right? And we already had discussed that, okay, what kind of plots you can create. Line, scatter bar, right? It's an example of line. It's a example of scatter, right? It's an example of bar charts. So lot many times when you are as a data scientist, the scatter plots are again very important, right? It will show you how the data is actually spread, right? And when you are creating some kind of relationship, maybe look at this from this particular chart. Look at from this perspective that you are probably creating a line chart, right? Which is kind of going to show you the relationship between height and weight, right? Is it condensed? Will it be a line chart or will it be a curve, right? Something of that sort, right? So scatter chart helps you visualize that particular part. When you are working on the, since we spoke about that, there is a lot of customization possible. So you can customize lot many things, almost every bit on the chart. You can have titles, you can have labels, you can have legends. I hope we know all these things, right? So you can actually customize them. Once you have created a plot, sorry, Mayank, you have a question? Okay. Once you have created a plot or created a chart, you can actually save it. You can actually share it as well, right? With your team. And the same thing is applicable with Power BI as well. You can share the reports, right? You can have subplots. I mean, you can have multiple charts together so that you can do the comparison. You can create a plot, a chart within a chart as well. All those things are possible, right? Then a lot many times you have to show that how the probably if you look at how the specifically the shares, right? I mean, that's how the stock market is working out, right? You typically use these kind of line charts, right? And you can actually play around with the theme, the background, the grids, so that it becomes much more readable. So it is completely up to you what kind of color you want. Uh, and this is another place where you should be concerned about, right? I'm not sure how accessibility is important in your organization, right? Uh, though Power BI and Tableau, the the companies behind them, they work a lot on accessibility. So do you know what is the meaning of accessibility? Mayank, maybe I'm not sure whether you know it. So maybe for your information, when we talk about accessibility, it is about the people who are specially abled, right? How are they going to use your website or any kind of software that you have developed? Say, for example, if somebody has a problem with who can actually can't differentiate between different colors, right? Maybe for that person, green and red, they appear same, right? And you are using green and red to differentiate something. But in a way, your software is not usable for that person, right? So this is what is accessibility, right? So
Yeah.
when you are developing some components for an organization, if you are using it for US this is a mandate. It's a legal thing, right? So if you are not following the accessibility standard, you will be penalized. Right? So in case if Power BI has got some challenges in accessibility, right? In a way, it will come on to you because you're using it. Right? Of course, you can go turn back to Microsoft and say that, okay, there are accessibility guidelines which were not followed. But in case if you are using Python, right, it becomes your own responsibility that you are
Mm.
adhering to all those accessibility guidelines. Right. Since we are not into the accessibility understanding, that's why I'm not going into the depth of it. Otherwise, it's a subject in itself.
Yeah, I was thinking of something else only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Lot many organization, they actually hire people who can do accessibility testing, right? Somebody who cannot see at all, right?
Mhm.
For them, they will be using the keyboard, right? And they have special keywords, right? And that they will do the testing, only then the software will be released. Okay, so that was about Matplotlib. Let's quickly talk about Seaborn. So with Seaborn again, it's a much recent one. I think it got created in 2015, 2014 something. It's a pretty user friendly. So in case if you want to go and user friendly here also means it is programmer friendly as well. And it has got wonderful integration with pandas. So what does that mean? Seaborn becomes a de facto library for us because we are going to pull a lot of data in pandas using pandas and data frames and Seaborn, they go hand in hand, right? So as you can see that there are it has improved aesthetics, complex visualization, and it is known that, and if you have got templates, it is far more easier to code. Uh, and then we have got scatter plot, line plot, everything can be created. And there are some commands here which we will show you during the practicals as well. So this slide actually representing these commands. SNS dot scatter plot, it helps you to create a scatter plot. SNS dot line plot, it helps you to create a line plot. How we will cover in the practicals, right? And then we have got a heat map. So heat map creating in Matplotlib is going to be very difficult. It is so straightforward when it comes to Seaborn. So if you see, these are the different visuals, right? And if you go back uh, quickly, you can see that okay, there are two different variables that we are talking about, and the line, the space here where we see a lot of dark colored, that is showing the relationship between the two different variables. Again, completely up to you how comfortable you are in your storytelling, right? And how quickly the stakeholders, they can actually interpret what you are communicating to them. Okay, so this was about C1. Quickly talking about Plotly. Uh, Now the Plotly is again, it was created in the same time frame as C1 was, right? And it is to develop interactive visuals, right? And typically they are used in web application designs. So if you are building a website, because you can play around with the browser as a user, you can zoom in, zoom out, right? And you can also do some kind of interaction, right? Manipulating of data, 3D data, 2D data, right? All that is possible in Plotly. I think, yes, I have already covered. And intuitive data exploration is when you look at a particular line, you want to see, say, for example, again, going back to the cricket match, if you want to see what actually happened between over 5 and over 10, right? Maybe you can zoom it and see how the pattern look like, right? And the same thing can be, imagine you as a data owner and you are running this engineering team, right? If you have got this kind of interactive chart, it will be much more easier for the stakeholders. They will be able to interpret it with ease. Okay. Uh, so if I talk about the comparative analysis between the different charts, I think each one of them offers the ability to work with the plots, right? Whereas Matplotlib, again, it can be customized from end to end. C1 and Plotly will have some limitations. But at the same time, they will have some advantages because a lot of things are already inbuilt. Then if you have to choose the right kind of library, my suggestion is always that considering the kind of profile that we are in, we are not into the publication. Just in case if somebody was there in this forum from publication world, I will say that, okay, please go ahead and use Matplotlib. But in our case, I think it is C1 takes a precedence. And in case if you want some kind of interactivity to be done, you yourself want to play around with the data, Plotly can be a better choice. Right. So these are the practical examples. Publication ready. Again, that's what we are calling it out. If you want to precision control over plots, and you want specifically in the scientific research, and incidentally, we nobody is there in this forum who is actually coming from that background, right? So Matplotlib, almost I can say that okay, practically you will not use it, right? Seaborn, when you have to do a data distribution, in case if you have created a visual and you want to share it with your team, right? You want to understand what is the relationship between the different variables. Then you want to do some kind of statistical analysis. Again, some statistic analysis, statistics functions are inbuilt into Seaborn, so you can use those statistics function as well. So it is not only about manipulating the UI, it is also manipulating the data that is available. When it comes to Plotly, I have spoken about that if you have to do a dynamic exploration, engaging visuals you want to create, and if you want to embed these visuals into web design. Uh, so this is about the theoretical part, right? Uh, when we go into the practicals of this, which we will do on Sunday, right? Uh, I think Sunday we can divide. Generally, we take 90 minutes on Sunday, right? And again, I'm assuming that, and I'll be sharing these code files, the presentations as well, right? Along with the recording. You can spend Saturday. I suggest maybe spend 2-3 hours at least, bare minimum, to go through all those content that we have covered. You will have some doubts when we get into the conversation on Sunday, right? Please bring those doubts onto the table, right? So we'll try to solve them for you. At the same time, we'll in the first part we will cover the practical implementation of these libraries in the first 60 minutes. So are we good here? Okay. You have any questions? Because I did not ask for, I did not give you a space in between.
I'm just
Mayank,
thinking,
Ramesh. Yeah.
right. I mean, in a practical scenario, even if I'm building my application on Python, uh, the chances are that I will use Python for visualization of my data. I mean, most likely I've seen that they go with Tableau or Power BI. I think there are multiple other options these days that's available. I
Yeah.
think the likelihood of using the same Python for visualization is very, very minimal.
Yeah. 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 That's right. Uh, that's true. Uh, I'll give you one example here. It may be relevant for you, Kamlesh. Uh, may not be relevant in the current context. So I'm doing consulting for an organization which is into commercial insurance. Now uh, they are building a product that can issue codes. They can do some kind of insurance, right? And it has got a complete workflow in it, right? And they have got multiple customers, and it's a product. Now, the reports that they have developed and the front end, it's a very decent, reasonable system that they have developed. The front end has been developed using PHP, right? The back end is developed using MySQL. They actually have picked up the inspiration from vTiger, which is kind of an open source, right? Which can be customized. Now they are running with this limitation. In case if they bring Power BI, right? In case if they bring Tableau, right? How are they going to distribute their application? It is going to be a cost to them. So what they have done, all their reports are in PHP.
Hmm.
Now I am working with them, and we see that the reports are developed in PHP and they are pretty slow in nature,
Hmm.
right? So and now they're kind of getting cramped, and they are thinking that okay, we have to move to Power BI, right? At least the this is the kind of recommendation that I have for them, because PHP has got its own challenges, right? And MySQL combination also makes things difficult. So had it been a case where we had Python in place, I probably would have gone with this kind of approach,
Yeah,
Kamlesh, right?
that
So
makes sense.
see, the real world is very difficult.
Yeah.
It has got different situations, and we have to tackle all of them, right? So maybe this will give you some insight that how, in case if you get into a similar kind of situation and you have to recommend to somebody, they can go ahead and use these libraries in Python, and they're
Yeah.
absolutely free. Kamlesh, no
Excellent.
issue with the distribution. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a
yeah,
good example. Thanks a lot.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think any other question that we have?
Mhm.
So we'll stop here. We'll meet at 11 o'clock on Sunday, right? And I request again, please spend some time going through the content, and please do practice. All right. Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
Good night. Okay. Bye bye.
Good night. Bye bye.